Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. And to anyone who's new to this channel or this topic, very warm welcome. So today, going to be talking about some what I think of as very simple, straightforward, and very universal spiritual ideas. But I hesitate to call them spiritual ideas because the word spiritual ideas has this kind of up in the air, sort of ethereal connotation. When actually, what we're going to be talking about today is ideas that help us live life. And we're also going to be practicing a very beautiful and pleasurable form of meditation. You can call it meditation. It's really on receiving healing life energy. So that's what you signed up for by watching this video. So first and foremost, I've entitled this talk, "We Are Like Satellite Dishes, but what are we receiving?" So let's back up a moment and let's ask a question we almost never ask. Who are we really? If someone says, "Who are you?" To me, I might share my name. I might say live in the United States, in California. I'm a spiritual minister. I like this. I don't like that, so forth and so on. But if someone were to ask, "What are you?" Now, I might answer some of the same things. I might say, "Well, I'm a man. I'm deeply devoted to things spiritual, or I try to be." And then someone says, "But underneath that, what are you?" And if I thought for a moment, I might say, "Well, I'm a soul." But what? And many of us on the spiritual path might have that answer. That, "Oh, well, actually, I'm a soul, and I'm just inhabiting this body." And for some people, that's a radically new idea. Many people think that this is what they are. And even those of us who believe that we are a soul that's inhabiting this body often have the habit of thinking of ourselves as this beautiful thing, as this body. From a spiritual point of view, actually, we're not our body. We are a soul that's been given the gift of this body, and we're inhabiting it. But let's go a little deeper and ask, what is the soul? It's a question I had never really, what's the nature of the soul? What does the soul do? It's a question I'd certainly never asked until I came across the teachings of Bruno Groening. You can see his picture behind me there. Now, Bruno Groening didn't give elaborate talks about spiritual or theological matters. He just gave very simple, practical ideas. And when describing the soul, what he said is, actually, I'm just going to read something that he wrote. "The soul can be compared to a wonderful, beautiful flower, about the size of my open palm. When a person wants what is good, their soul then opens just like a satellite dish, and the divine energy streams into it fully. But if a person takes up just a single bad thought, then the soul shuts itself up at once, and the connection to God is interrupted. The soul is therefore the receiving device for the healing stream. A good will opens the mirror of the soul, and the power can flow. But it will not let in even the tiniest bad feeling, because it will shut itself up as quick as lightning. So the soul is where the divine spark is located in human beings, to which no evil can gain access." So, according to Bruno Groening, the soul is literally a receiving device. He likens it to a satellite that can receive what he called, he used different words, the divine transmission, the healing stream, the divine energy, can receive something divine, an energy that helps and actually heals. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. And he also points out that the soul is where the divine spark, where something completely pure and completely divine lives. But let's back up a little bit. He said the soul is therefore the receiving device for the healing stream. Healing stream is his word for divine energy. He also pointed out that human beings are not just receivers of energy, they're senders of energy. So according to Bruno Groening, each one of us is a soul. And one of the primary aspects of our soul is the capacity to send and receive energy, specifically divine energy. We're going to be exploring that topic today. But enough talking, let's receive some divine energy. If you haven't, now for any of my talks or videos, I invite people to start receiving the divine energy as soon as the talk begins. For anyone who's new, how you do this is very simple. Please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, back in a relaxed upright position if possible, not leaning against your chair. And close your eyes. And inwardly open yourself to the possibility that there is such a thing as divine energy. And now hand over all your burdens and worries, fears, life situations, even illnesses. Hand them over to this energy, to your understanding of a higher power. And then ask to receive this divine energy and observe your body, noticing what you feel. And that's the practice, to observe the body with the intention to receive this energy. Let's do so now. Noticing what you feel, having the intention to receive this energy. Just keep coming back to observing the body. Noticing what you feel, having the intention to receive this healing life energy. So I invite people to continue to tune in, to take this energy in as I talk and read a little bit. So, according to Bruno Groening, we're designed as human beings, as both our body and our soul, to be in connection with God. That's what's natural. But through technology, through culture, we human beings have moved further and further away from having that as a priority. This presence, this presence that I feel, and I know many others feel it, when practicing tuning in or practicing other spiritual disciplines. This presence of God. What if it's a fundamental need? You know, as human beings, we ask ourselves, what do we need? What do we really need? Well, what if this presence, this feeling, this sense of connection is one of our primary needs? And I don't mean sense of connection with other people, though that's wonderful. I mean sense of connection with God that goes with us everywhere, that's always available. Please take some time and reflect and ask yourself, is this if not my primary need? And don't take my word for it. So we'll spend a little time in silence reflecting. Observing the body, Because if Bruno Groening is correct, that we are souls, and by the way, I'm utterly convinced he's correct on this topic, that we are souls and that we are receivers and senders of energy. It's very important that we be tuned into God, that we be receiving the divine connection moment by moment. One spiritual quote I love is, prayer is the medium through which love is received. So the person who said that, in essence, was saying true prayer is opening ourselves to the divine and then receiving divine love. But we spend so much time uh, taking care of these bodies and taking care of our, day-to-day activities in life and to-do list. And what if we're missing the primary thing? What if our soul, the deepest part of our being, really yearns for one thing, to be connected to God? And if we don't meet that need, then we're just not going to be well. Please don't take my word for it. Please don't take Bruno Groening's word for it. He said to be connected to God, that is everything. But find out for yourself, is that your soul's deepest need, deepest desire, to be in connection, communion with God? Let's spend a little time and reflect on that and inquire deeply. We'll take it as a matter of fact that as a human being, we need air, second by second. We can't live without it. What if the soul is the same way, except, without air, a human body dies very quickly? What if the soul is maybe not exactly the same, but similar? For the soul to be alive, not alive, vibrant, happy. What it needs is moment by moment the divine connection. sometimes think of summarizing this teaching very simply as we need God. Hmm. So every one of us here, and I would pretty much guess every human being, can make the following statement: I want to be happy. I want to be healthy. I want to have a good life. Pretty much every human being throughout history could say that. It's one thing that unifies us. And so I want to be, so we all understand want, have a desire, happy, healthy, good life. We might have slightly different definitions of those words, but we all can understand that. But there's one thing that most human beings don't do that Bruno Groening called us to do: to reflect, what or who am I? Who, if we don't understand what we are, how on earth are we going to be successful at life? How are we going to be happy, healthy? How are we going to have a good life? Can you imagine trying to, in human terms, like let's say it's my job to plan a good life for someone, but I don't know anything about them. It's going to be very difficult. Well, if we're going to be successful at life and we're all striving to do well at life, we need to know what we are. Bruno Groening called people. He said, I call you to self-knowledge. Might not have been as exact. He said, he called people to reflect on themselves, to come to self-knowledge. So this understanding of ourselves as a soul is essential. It's not to deny our human needs or our to-do lists, but it's to look deeper. And Bruno Groening said the only necessary thing is that one attain self-recognition or self-knowledge. So if we fully and completely know what we are, everything else will make sense. So let's reflect on all this. Let's reflect on the need for self-reflection, the need to come to an understanding what we are. Now, as both as a soul inhabiting this human body, there is one other thing that we absolutely need that Bruno Groening pointed out over and over again that human beings have forgotten. Here's a quote from Bruno Groening. It has been believed that someone could be different from others by turning his back on nature and climbing the steps of culture. Therein lies the mistake. Therein lies everything. This is what is missing for human beings, nature. So, as human beings, having these beautiful bodies, as a soul, we're just reliant on God. But as a human being inhabiting these bodies, we're also completely reliant on nature. And not just for food and water. The divine energy flows so. And right now I'm looking out my window at a beautiful, beautiful small tree. The divine energy flows so easily, naturally, and gracefully to us by nature. We're really designed to be surrounded by nature. Bruno went so far as to say that nature is God and called people back to nature. And this all begins to make very perfect sense if we reflect on the nature of the soul being a receiving device. If we're meant to be receiving the divine connection always, and nature just with this sheer grace just shares the divine energy with us. And anyone, even the deepest atheist, can go out into nature and they're going to have a sacred spiritual experience. They might not call it spiritual, but they're going to feel the energy and it will shift their mood, will change their body, it'll uplift their spirits. They may deny that they even have a spirit, but they can't deny the experience. So let's reflect on all this and tie the dots together of that we are a soul inhabiting a human body. And the nature of the soul is to be receiving the divine energy, and our body needs that energy. And nature so beautifully transmits it, passes it along to us, and hence our need to be surrounded by nature. Here's what Bruno Groening says when we withdraw from God or withdraw from nature. The further a person withdraws from God, willingly or unwillingly, the less life there is in his body, and his organs do not function as they should. He has lost contact with the great divine source of his energy, and eventually he will even lose what little remains. Cut off from the power of God, his body becomes a wreck. We all understand this in physical terms. If we don't eat well or eat enough or drink enough, don't sleep enough, we don't breathe enough, and do that over time, our body's going to become a wreck. Now it's time for us as individuals and humanity to wake up to the fact that we are spiritual beings and we have an absolute spiritual need to be in communion with God and taking in this energy every day to really be surrounded by this energy. The question is, what is life, or what is a life? What is life about? And a very simple answer is life is about life. Life is in the German, I love the German word for life. It's Leben. It also means existence. It also means aliveness. We spend so much time focused on what we're doing. I know I do, and I'm breaking that habit. I spend less time focused on how I'm doing it. I focus less time focused on that sense of aliveness, that sense of being, maintaining my connection to God moment by moment as I wash the dishes, as I pay the bills, as I talk to someone. Because Bruno Groening said, life is God. So we're meant to be connecting to this aliveness, to life, to God, moment by moment. I cannot sit here and say that I have mastered this. All I can say is that I'm convinced that this is the truth. This is what we're designed to do. This is what we need to do, and I'm striving for it. Some days I do better than others. I'm certainly making progress. And that's the beauty of nature, is it makes it so much easier. I went for a walk this morning and I had the intention to tune in as I walked, but more it was to connect with nature. And I just, everywhere I went, I focused my eyes on the nature around me. And I also maintained faith. I feel it's such a powerful way to connect to God, is just to have faith, just to remind myself the good will prevail. And it was like 40 minutes of bliss. I just felt like I'd been transported to another world. And of course, I was just walking around my neighborhood, which for a neighborhood with, houses, it has more nature maybe than your average neighborhood. But I was basically just walking around my neighborhood. It's not like it's out I live in a city, But we've been trained we've not trained, we've fallen into the habit of focusing on what's Bruno called it artificial, meaning that which is made by human beings, instead of focusing on that which is made by God. So this morning I went for a walk, and instead of looking at the houses, sure, I noticed the houses, or every now and then it would get my attention, but I focused for 40 minutes on what was made by God. And it was literally like being transported to another world. Can't recommend it enough. Please do it and let me know how it goes. I want to do it every day now. I want to do it twice a day. I want to live in nature now. So let's reflect on all this. Our need for the divine connection, that nature helps. Now, putting our attention on what was made by God. That's where life is. That's what life is. So this receiving healing energy isn't just a feel good, which it does feel good. From a spiritual point of view, I want to say from just a life point of view, it's a basic need. But as many of you know, it also heals. And many healings on this path. One of them was dependence on sleeping pills. So a while back, I had the diagnosis of bipolar 2, and so I got on bipolar medication, and this was but way before I found Bruno Groening. In fact, these teachings helped me to get off the medication and heal the bipolar. But one of the side effects of the medication balanced my mood, but then it disturbed my sleep. Not uncommon with medication, side effects. So then I got on another medication to help put me to sleep. But that didn't do it. So another medication, and that didn't quite do it. So then sleeping pills. So for this one condition, I was now on 4 medications. So I was able to easily get off 3 of them within a short period of time and really heal the bipolar. But that 4th one took a while. It took almost 2 years. I was totally dependent on it. I couldn't sleep without it. And if I didn't take it, then I wouldn't sleep well. So I just kept tuning in. That's this practice. For anyone who's new, this practice we're doing. I just kept taking in the divine energy. I just kept handing the burden over. I just kept reminding myself that, I got off the other 3 and reminding myself of the truth that this power is unlimited. It can heal anything. And reminding myself that I have a fierce friend in Bruno Groening And it did. It took me almost 2 years. It may have taken me 3 years. I'll have to reflect on the timing a little bit. I'll have to reflect. It may have even been 4 years. I forget how long it took, but I was able to get off of it. And now I can happily say that I sleep well without any medication. But it was so hard because I would decrease it just a little bit and then I wouldn't sleep. And so sometimes healings happen very quickly. People have gone to just one meeting, seen a picture of Bruno Groening, and had an instant healing. And sometimes healings take years. So we're going to begin to wrap up now. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. To anyone who's new, a special, special welcome. And hello to Jisoo. You're welcome, Germana. Hi, Holly. Long time no. Thank you for saying hello. So, friends, all of us as individuals, much less every problem in the world, has one cause, and that is evil. We've taken evil into our minds and into our bodies. We're a receiving device, or our soul has the capacity to receive not just energy, but also thoughts. However, taking in of evil really itself has one primary cause, and that's moving away from God and moving away from nature. Kind of two ways of moving away from life, two ways of saying the same thing. So the solution to all of our problems as individuals, much less for this whole planet, is to move back into alignment with God and to move back to nature, which then really helps us to stay in alignment with God. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in today. I'd like to thank everyone for participating. My understanding, according to Bruno Groening, is that we're each receiving. We have the capacity we're senders and we're receivers of energy. And when we get together like this, it's not just for ourselves. It also supports the other people here, even though we're all around the world. Even though these are remote meetings, I've lost count. I think seven or eight healings have happened live during these meetings. And then not only are we supporting ourselves and each other, it's my deep belief that we're supporting this world. We're drawing this energy in. And Bruno Groening himself said that our thoughts, let's see if I can, I think I'll read that. When we take in good energy, we have good thoughts. And here's what Bruno Groening had to say about that. Your thoughts, wishes, and ideas all shape the future conditions on this earth. Our task is to think, plan, and live the good. So friends, let's think good. Let's take in this energy and let's think good thoughts. My belief is that one of the ultimate thoughts, Bruno Groening himself said something very similar. Human beings can also serve God by being convinced of the triumph of good in the world. The more people there are who want the good, the sooner it can be brought about by God. So by wanting the good and believing in the triumph of the good in the world, we actually are helping bring it about. So let's really hold to the thought, the good will prevail in our lives and on this earth. And let's take in this good energy. Let's treat each day in these bodies as the gift that it is. Sometimes it's a challenging gift. There's no question about that. And Bruno Groening pointed out that it's a huge grace to be in these bodies. Thank you so much for joining in. Thanks for saying hi, Serene Within. Take care. Much love.